It's hot, lazy, summer in the upper Midwest. And in these parts, about the only village citizens at work are the firemen, dutifully attending their responsibilities. Peace, tranquility, patriotism. The Beatles once called this a Pleasant Valley Sunday. But wait. The whole town is responding to this anticipated alarm, and everyone is speeding out to the firemen's Angell Park. But no one will speed more than the midget drivers assembled here for one of America's most important midget auto races. It's the Pepsi Nationals, up next on the Chevrolet Motorsports Hour. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Angell Park Speedway in Wisconsin. This is the closest thing this side of... now that I come to think about it, for midget auto racing fans, this is heaven. This is the home racetrack of the Badger Midget Auto Racing Association, what we believe to be the oldest continually operating weekly midget racing program in the country. This is their final race, the Pepsi 50, the one that all of the competitors who run here year-long shoot for. Now, this race has attracted, of course, the best of the home team players, but also some of the finest from across the country, including one going after a continuation of a national win streak. Now, Milwaukee driver Dan Borst has all but wrapped up this Badger Championship, but he has to run in the main event. And Larry Rice is standing by with him right now.
Thanks, Larry. I'm down here with three-time champion Dan Borst. He really knows this racetrack. Dan, tell us what's peculiar about this racetrack.
Well, the track here at Sun Prairie, it looks like you could almost run the outside fence, but it kind of does bend off on each corner, and it's a fast track. Like for the regulars, for outsiders to come in here and race, it's hard to beat the regulars. Just like if someone's go to Ventura and try to beat those guys, I mean, it's one tough deal.
Why can you race 2, 3, 4 abreast sometimes here?
Well, the firemen at Angell Park here prepare the track very well, and the groove is on the bottom and right up to the top. It's really nice clay, and the cars nowadays with the offset, you can run on the bottom right up to the top.
Any good things or bad things about this track?
Well, it's really hard on people and equipment sometimes. I mean, if you're not upright on it, you could run over somebody or get run over very, very easy, especially when you are running 3 or 4 abreast.
This is an unusual place. You got to be on top of it every second of every lap. Now to the third member of our team, George Wilkins.
Thanks, Larry. I'm down here with Billy Boat, and Billy Boat, you've had a dream season. You've won 12 straight races, including Western States. You've won 10 of those. You've won 2 others, including Belleville. You've won 16 out of 21 features altogether. You're having a great year.
Yeah, you know, we're having a phenomenal year. You know, this is going to be a tough race for us tonight to keep that streak going, you know. We haven't ever ran this racetrack before. You got Kevin Doty and these guys here that run here all the time, going to make it a tough show for us. But my mechanic, Rusty Coons, and his brother Keith, who works on my car, have this Steve Benito Stealth Garrity pretty wired tonight, so I think we're going to be in good shape.
Now, tonight's the first night you've been in this car, is that right?
Yeah, I've never driven it before tonight.
Now, given that, and given the fact that you're in somebody else's backyard, basically, and you've never been here before, these guys run here week after week, what are your chances?
I think our chances are good, you know. I think the bottom of the racetrack's going to go away where Kevin and Scott hadn't been running early. I think the racetrack's going to go to the top, which I think is going to favor me where I like to run. So I'm looking towards, you know, running to the top and being there at the end of the race.
You're starting outside third row. Do you have any plans on maybe biding your time a little bit, saving on tires? Or are you going to go right to the front?
We'll take what they give us. You know, if we have a pass, we'll take it. The 50th lap is the one we want to lead, so we'll try to stay out of trouble and work our way to the front.
All right, well, good luck tonight.
Thank you.
They have been racing midgets here weekly since 1936, and many of the drivers you'll see competing here tonight are second and third generation. Family members have died here, but still they continue to come back year after year to Angell Park, where midget racing is king. Larry?
Thanks, Larry. I'm standing down here with former winner Kevin Olson. Kevin, this is the best season you've had for some time. Why?
Well, basically, we got hooked up with a great team and good equipment, and we've struggled the last couple of years, but boy, equipment's such a big part of this game these days, and we got a good one. Denny Lamers, my car owner, bought us a Stealth, and we've had, you know, the Gerties and the Fontanas. We've got the best of everything, and I got no excuses.
You've been around this place for 25 years. What kind of changes have you seen?
Boy, it's been a long 25 years, but a lot of fun, and I hope we can go at least another 20. But when we first come up here, we had the cars with, some of them didn't even have roll cages and little tires and not as much horsepower. Now, you know, we've got, most of the guys that are up front have got 2 or 3 cars and 3 motors and just a lot of money, you know, but we're going faster, but in them days it was just as tough. But there's just a lot of them going fast now.
What are your chances here tonight?
I think we'll be up at the end. We didn't run real good in the heat. We qualified good, but after 25 years, I hope I learned something on this racetrack. And if we get a, you know, we get a good clean start, I think we'll go to the front.
He's been around a long time. He knows the racetrack. He will be tough.
4-time Badger Midget champ Kevin Olson. Tonight's race is being brought to you by Signal Incorporated, more than just video, complete event coverage. And by the Win Oil Company, when it wins, it works. And by Prime Star, we bring satellite television down to earth. And by Fairfield Inn, economy lodging that exceeds expectations. And by Lamers Racing, proud supporter of Badger Midget Auto Racing. We are all set for, if you will, a rapid-fire start for the 1995 Pepsi Nationals. Up next on Prime. If you're a fan of midget auto racing, you want to stay tuned, because we guarantee you, you'll never see finer midget racing than you will on this track.
And closer competition. These guys run 2-3 abreast. This racetrack has 2 or 3 groups. It's really exciting.
This is the green flag of heat race number 4. Now, it may be the 4th heat race, but these are among the night's fastest qualifiers. All of these drivers, as you see, Danny Gish, one of the regular drivers here leading this race, all of these drivers are already in the Pepsi Nationals, the 50-lap race. They're just racing for starting position in the main event.
That's Brian Gerster in the white and red, number 15, running in second. Up on the cushion, Chris Malone in that black, number 7, running in third right now.
Gerster and Malone could best be described as interlopers. They're visitors from the United States Auto Club, trying to challenge the regulars. And speaking about the regulars, that's defending Pepsi's champion Kevin Doty in the inside there in that white red trim, number 50, moving into 3rd place.
Look at these guys up front battling each other tooth and nail. Dean Billings in that white 66. We got a spin up there in turn 4.
On the low side of turn number 4, no incident involved, just a car losing the grip down on the bottom. We now understand that was Marty Davis, who started this race on the outside of row number 2, the Racine, Wisconsin driver who once won these Pepsi Nationals in a bit of a surprise back about 4 years ago. There's the number 66 of Dean Billings that Larry made mention of a little earlier. Sort of the Cal Ripken of Badger Midget Auto Racing. He once won 161 races in a row. He made the main event.
Yes, and he's been around this place a long, long time with lots of experience here. Look at these guys powering off of turn 4. Takes a lot of horsepower as well as a great handling race car around this racetrack.
And look at the racetrack, the number of grooves that it has. You see Danny Gish running right down at the bottom. Running on the high side is Brian Gerster, and if you want to run in the middle, you can. As a matter of fact, Gish moves up to the middle momentarily now and then, and running right down at the bottom is Kevin Doty. Matter of fact, he's below the bottom.
He's below the bottom. He's inside those tires, trying to find a place to get around guys in front of him. He's won this race a lot of times. He knows this racetrack as well as anybody here, although he doesn't run here on a regular basis.
Brian Gerster has moved to the number 1 position, running the cushion on the high side, although Gish tries to come back. Gerster has been in the top 3 of United States Auto Club national midget point standings all season long.
Look how equal the top and bottom grooves are. That's what's so amazing about Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. You can run the bottom, you can run the top. It's farther around the top, but they both seem to be just about exactly the same speed, no matter where you run.
The racetrack does appear to be the great equalizer. Oh, Kevin Doty with a big slide job, but clean, but slide job on Critter Malone, and relegates him to 4th.
Well, he figured out he was just following down there. He wasn't gaining on anybody, so he decided to change grooves. He moved to the top, and now that he's caught those first 2 guys that have been running side by side practically the whole race.
Danny Gish is really showing his veteran stripes of this racetrack, running down to the bottom, a lot less slower in RPMs and miles per hour than Brian Gerster up there, battling the cushion when Gish has been able to hold on.
Yeah, Gish gets in the corner, he gets a little advantage getting in, but Gerster gets a good bite getting off and leads going down just about every straightaway. Look at that. Those guys touch going down the main straightaway as Doty jumps from 3rd into 1st, just all in one move.
Mr. Midget Auto Racing Speed, Kevin Doty. We have seen him win on on the high-speed high banks of Belleville, Kansas. We've seen him perform well at the very rough and tumble Chili Bowl. With the white flag out, he takes over the #1 position.
And he's used the top, he's used the bottom, he's used every groove to come all the way from the back to lead this race.
Kevin Doty, not only the defending champion of this race, but he's also won it 4 times, and he victors heat race number 4. And again, all they were doing was determining the starting positions. The people who finish in the first 5 get their times back to determine the starting lineup for this year's Pepsi Nationals.
Here you see the top 5, Doty, Gerster, Gish, Malone, and Fiskus, and Doty proved that he is going to be tough to beat come A main time.
Running sprint cars and Silver Crown, Kevin has chosen not to go after Badger points this year, although over the past couple of seasons, 30 preliminary wins and over 300 leading laps in the main events, Larry.
Hey, he doesn't run here on a weekly basis, but he knows this racetrack so well. When he comes here, he's so ready, he's tough to beat. He tries every lap of every race so hard.
And up next, the 1995 Pepsi Nationals. Although this is the crescendo of, if you will, a regional midget racing series, still some of the finest midget drivers in the history of the sport have won this race. People like Rich Vogler, Stevie Reeves back in 1991, and Paige Jones in 93. And if your name is Kevin, you're in really good shape, because 7 times the name Kevin has been in first place.
That's right, both Kevin Doty and Olson have won this thing 7 times total. Paige Jones has been a winner. He's doing really well. We want to say hello to him. And of course, Stan Fox is here watching this race. First race he's been to since his accident.
We mentioned all the multiple race winners in this field. That yellow car right there, front row, the 4-breast formation, that's Steve Knepper. He's won Belleville. He's won the Hot 100. He has not won this race. He would like to add very much this feather to that cap.
He certainly would, and I'll tell you what, this is the one that everybody in the Midwest points toward this Labor Day weekend. Really big race.
The starting lineup for the 1995 Pepsi Nationals at Sun Prairie. On the pole from Indianapolis, Indiana, now is Andy Pierce, originally out of the state of Oklahoma. Outside of row number 1 is Steve Knepper in the family number 55. Here is one of the finest midget racers in all of America.
And Brian Gerster, currently 3rd in the USAC point standing, starts in 3rd. Outside of him, Danny Gish in the family-owned Challenger Gertie.
On the inside of row number 3 is Doug Schenk. A year ago, he was 6 times fast qualifier. Outside of Doug in number 99 is Billy Boat, gunning for 13 wins in a row. It's at risk tonight.
And on the inside of the next row, Critter Malone. And Malone racing car is a Drake Shaver-powered race car. On the outside of him, Aaron Fiskus, a young guy who's having a great season in the Butch Dalkey car.
4 times this year, Kevin Olson has won a main event here in Badger Midget Racing. 3 times he's won the Pepsi Nationals. Kevin Doty, the defending champion, fires off from outside of row number 5.
And Randy Fiskus, his best season ever this year with the Ellis Gertie. And on the outside of him, Dean Billings, who started 161 straight races here in the Denny Lamers car.
The veteran Dean Erfurth won 8 preliminary races in 1995. Always a threat. And the 1992 champion, Marty Davis, starts on the outside of the 7th row.
Randy Cook has more passing points here than anybody else. He starts on the inside. Mike Fell in the Megan Fell car on the outside of row number 8.
The 1984 winner of the Pepsi race can win the Badger Championship tonight. Dan Boris and Scott Hatton, winner of a Chili Bowl and 2 main events this year, outside.
Inside of row number 10, Boyd Calvert. He's an alternate who barely made it in. And on the outside in the last starting position is Roger Corrigan in his father's own Maxim Fontana.
We will go 50 laps. It will be green flag racing. None of the yellows count. And watch for the multi-grooves here at Sun Prairie. This will be all green flag racing. Yellows don't count in the midget race. Pepsi next. Every season in motor racing is long, but every season in motor racing is not long enough also, Larry. But this is the one that all of the drivers, particularly in the upper Midwest, and as we point out, it attracts drivers from all over the country, really point toward. This is the moment they wait for all year.
Well, that's right. Most of these guys race here every week. All these guys are the hometown guys that want to win the biggest race of the year at their home track, with the exception of Billy Boat and Brian Gerster, who are kind of outsiders, and maybe Andy Pierce, who comes up here once in a while. The rest of them race here all the time, and this is their big race, hometown guys.
Everybody in this race feels as though they have a chance. Scott Hatton, he's starting back there in the 9th row. He's a big winner here. Kevin Cook, he starts back there, as does the number 11 car of Danny Borst going after the Badger Championship work green at Sun Prairie, and the Pepsi Nationals for 1995 is underway.
Andy Pierce jumps out into a quick lead. That's Steve Knepper in that yellow car running in second, chasing him down. Steve takes to the high side. Pierce goes to the bottom. Let's see which crew's going to be faster.
Moving on the low side there in that purple, green, and yellow car is Doug Shank, the prolific qualifier from a year ago. He hasn't had quite that spectacular season this year, but he qualified for this event quite well. You see him running in the top 5 early on.
Easy to see that race car. It's pretty, but it's bright.
That race car, by the way, is also decorated by a guy who is in the commercial art industry, and that's the reason why he painted the car that way. He wanted it to stand out, and stand out it does. Meanwhile, back to the race. There is Brian Gerster, currently being shown in second. Moving on the high side. What is that? Is that Doty? No, we've seen Doty in that car this year. That is Billy Boat in that blue number 99, the guy with the 12-race win streak spanning the country, up for grabs tonight.
And Billy Boat really likes the cushion. He likes the high side of the racetrack. You're not going to see him move down off that spot very often. That white number 66 down on the bottom is Kevin Olson. He's won this race a couple of times, so he knows his way around the racetrack too.
Kevin Olson is having a great race, Larry. He began on the inside of row number 5, the 4-time winner here this year, the 3-time winner of this race. Has got the right setup. He has moved to 3rd position from 9th, but Billy Boat is not letting him get away.
Billy Boat, again, moves back up to the top. Kevin Olson's got around him down on the bottom. 2 distinct grooves, 2 looks like fast grooves at this point in the race. 1 right on the bottom, 1 right around the top.
Now, don't despair. It may look like the leader is getting away. Steve Knepper right now has a breathing distance between himself and second place, but this is a long race for Midget Auto race cars, and it's nowhere near over yet. Right now, Knepper's got a bit of a cakewalk, but it won't last all race long.
No, it's not. You can see the racetrack. It's getting black in a couple of spots. Right in the middle of the racetrack, right up near the cushion, it's getting black. Where it's black, it's slicker. They're trying to get up in that wet, that darker mud up on the top, and right around the bottom you can see, too, it's still muddy down there. Both those grooves get better traction, and the race cars go faster.
A battle for 4th position. They're moving on the low side, and the car number 6 is Randy Fiskus, one of the 2 Fiskus boys who has moved to the front of Midget Auto Racing here in the state of Wisconsin the past couple of seasons. Both of them have had their finest years in 1995, and Randy's brother Aaron, in just his 2nd year of driving this year, has won 2 main events here. You can see that Randy has just gotten around Billy Boat, and boy, that streak really looks like it's in jeopardy.
It sure does. And look at Kevin Olson right around the bottom. He just took over 2nd spot. But look how equal this racetrack is. Even though he moved up, Pierce still challenging hard, running up on that cushion, the top side. You can see the top is rougher, though. It's harder to run up there. It's easier to make a mistake. That's the trouble the guys are having in running that top cushion right now.
Even though Andy Pierce is an interloper for the United States Auto Club, he has run up here enough to know the racetrack and be comfortable with it. He's really showing the fact that he is experienced here at Sun Prairie.
Look at Steve Knepper right around the top. He's really moved out to maybe a quarter of a straightaway lead. Right now, Kevin Olson seems to be reeling him in a little bit. This battle for 4th is really heating up. Look at Kevin Doty.
Kevin Doty is up there right now, blocking the way of Billy Boat, although Boat has really not shown us the ability, or let's say the potential, of moving to the front tonight, whereas Doty's been digging for ground, looking for a place to hide, upside, low side, all around the racetrack. And Doty, I think, is still a candidate to win this race. Not so sure about the double B, Billy Boat.
Doty just uses the whole racetrack. He has been everywhere. He's been around the top. He's been around the bottom. He's been inside the tires. He's been on top of them. He's been everywhere, but every place he's gone, he's passed a couple of race cars. Speaking of passing the race cars, look at Kevin Olson. He's caught up with our leader, Steve Knepper.
Kevin Olson, who first won this race back in 1983. He was the Badger champion way back in 1976. And Larry, he is having a fabulous race.
He's been around this racetrack for 25 years. He knows it very, very well. He's found a spot on the bottom of the racetrack that's tacky enough to get him off the corner, keep up with his guys running on the cushion.
Kevin won a main event 4 times this year up here at Badger Midget Racing, once only in 1994, but as Larry mentioned earlier, this is his finest season in a long, long time. He's ranked 3rd in points. Some key breakdowns in important races have kept him from potentially being the champ.
Well, he's found a corner with Denny Lamers that was giving him a chance to drive a very good race car, the best he's had for a long, long time, and that he's proven that he can still do the job given the good equipment.
He led 86 laps in main event competition this year. That was 5th best, to give you an idea as to how successful he was. Randy Fiskus still having a good race in that white, blue, and purple trim number 6. Runs in 3rd place. We've seen him try the cushion. We've seen him try the bottom. He seems to be using different ends of the racetrack on different ends of the speedway.
That's right. And look at Knipper. He still runs the top. Olson runs the bottom. Fiskus runs the bottom. You know, everybody's running different places. We got a yellow flag, it looks like, Larry.
The yellow flag is out, breaking the rhythm, hopefully not completely for Kevin Olson, but when you're leading a race, you'd never like to see the yellow come out. It's just for a minor spin. We'll be back at Sun Prairie for the rest of the Pepsi Nationals after this. Back in Midget heaven, where they first raced in 1936. That yellow, by the way, was for debris on the racetrack. Kevin Olson leads this race, and he has won this race as well as lost this race in every conceivable way. He beat Don Tyler by a car length back in 1983 and 1986. He beat Stan Fox. He had mechanical difficulties late challenging Kevin Doty last year, 1994. He's had every type of emotion you could possibly predict, Larry, associated with this race.
Well, in automobile racing, your emotions do run the gamut. I mean, you go from the highest highs to the lowest lows, and sometimes they happen all in one night. And right now, he's on a pretty good high.
You saw as we're getting ready to go back to green, Brian Gerster way back in 19th position. What a horrible race for this man who's done well in national points this year. He started in 3rd, but it looks like he will not win the Pepsi Nationals in 1995.
Yeah, he had some sort of a problem, dropped way back very, very quickly. Just seemed like lost 10 spots in about 3 different laps. So you can see Randy Fiskus really on the bottom down there, really coming up strong as he's underneath Knipper and right on the tail of Kevin Olson right now.
And remember, Steve Knipper, that yellow number 55 red trimmed roll bars, he led the early laps of this race, had a big lead. That's Kevin Doty there in that red and black trim number 50 right down on the bottom. And Fiskus slides right up in front of Knipper. You couldn't have put a slip of paper between the two of them, but no contact. Kevin Olson continues to lead. He doesn't look quite as dominant as he did a few laps ago. Here comes Fiskus moving on the inside, followed by Doty on the outside. It remains the 55 Knipper in the blue car of Billy Boat.
And Fiskus just went around Olson. Fiskus went around Olson going down the front straightaway. The straightaways are short. The corners are big, wide, and long in this racetrack. You've got to be very careful. You've got to have the race car really working well through the corners because it's so much of the racetrack is a corner.
Randy Fiskus begins to insert himself. However, we have about half this race to go, but Fiskus has about a 6 or 7 car length lead, which he got in just about 1 lap period of time. Earlier in this race, I counted out Boat. Let me count him back in.
Oh, absolutely. The cushion is working great right now. Knipper and both really running fast up there. It looks like Olson's having all sorts of trouble here all of a sudden. After that yellow flag, he just seems to be going backwards.
And a new player has moved to the front. That number 7 you just saw momentarily on your screen, that is Scott Hatton. Scott Hatton started this race in 18th position, and Scott Hatton is in the fray for top 5.
We're only about 22 or 23 laps into the race. He's passed about almost a car a lap to come from 18th up to about 4th or 5th spot right now.
And look where Doty and Scott Hatton run, particularly around corners 1 and 2. They are not on the tires. They're not close to the tires. There are times when they have almost all 4 wheels underneath them.
Absolutely underneath the tires. You can see Doty. He's trying everything he can to move to the front. Fiskus right now, though, has pulled away to 4 or 5 car lengths lead as Kevin Olson continues to drop back.
Kevin Olson, what a shame. He's obviously having some kind of serious problems because he, without question, was the superior car in the 1995 Pepsi race until this moment.
We just got word that he's having some sort of problem with the throttle agents. He's made some motions in the pit area. Something's not working right with the throttle. Maybe we can find out later what it was.
Meanwhile, Randy Fiskus continues to lead, but he has been unable to shake the number 55 car, Steve Knipper, and that very foreboding red and white number 50. There is Mr. Speed in Midwest Midget Auto Racing, maybe National Midget Auto Racing. Kevin Doty, yellow flag is out. There is debris on the back straightaway, so for the second time in the first half of this race, the pace has been slowed, not because of an on-track incident, but because the racetrack has taken its toll on racing equipment. We've got debris on the racetrack, so all the drivers get a chance to take a deep breath. We'll be back at Sun Prairie after this. The tradition continues in the Badger State. The names Fredenberg, Erfurth, Lean, Burtzer, all previous Badger driver champions whose offsprings entered this race here this weekend, and that's the way it goes in Wisconsin Midget Auto Racing. And it's not just the auto racing for a state. They attract drivers from all the neighboring states every year to come here to test themselves against this competition, which is, without a doubt, easily on par with the finest midget competition you'll find anywhere in the country. Back to Green.
And you can see Visca's still leading, and right away Knipper goes right back to the top. He's run the whole race around the top. He likes the top, and he moved right back up there. We can see Randy Cook in that red number 2. This is the first time he's kind of moved into the fray. He started way back in 15th starting position. Now he's up in the top 5.
Randy Cook has won 4 races this year and is among the leaders for passing points. They keep track of how many cars you pass in main event competition up here. And Randy has done very, very well in the 1995 season. As a matter of fact, he's number 1 in that category.
Randy Viscas keeps sliding a little bit higher down the straightaways. Looks like Kevin Doty's coming much straighter off the corners. Viscas is going to be in trouble if he doesn't hang that thing down a little bit lower on the straightaways and gives Doty that opening in there.
That third white car also running down on the bottom. The number 7 is Scott Hatton. This is a racetrack that almost ended Scott's career. One time he flipped so high he landed in the fencing, and one of the upright posts actually speared the cockpit. Kevin Doty moving to the inside of Randy Viscas. They're 2 abreast for the first position, and Kevin Doty, the defending Pepsi Nationals champion for the first time, takes the lead.
Hey, he's going to be a hard man to beat once he gets in front, and he's up front now. It's going to be tough. Unless something like Knipper or somebody finds a better groove around the top, I don't think you're going to pass this guy going around him on the bottom.
However, Scott Hatton has come from a long distance, a long ways back to challenge among the front leaders. He is down on the grass.
He was mowing the grass, man. The man looked like he's driving a lawnmower there.
But it worked. It's not wet down there. They've never prepared it down there, but he was able to get to the inside of Randy Viscas on that green and clean move.
Man, oh man, I don't think I've seen anybody run that low here in all the years I've been here. Oh, Viscas getting all sorts of trouble right there. That's what happens when you're running over the tires. Sometimes your right rear hooks with those tires, gets the race car all out of whack. So you got to really be careful when you're running that low on the racetrack.
That blue car, that two-tone blue car, is at number 99 again. That is Billy Boat. He has a streak of 12 races in a row that he's working on right now. There's a picture of Kevin Doty. We called him earlier Mr. Speed of Midget Auto Racing. Billy Boat right there in the blue car. He knew that his streak might well be in jeopardy here at Sun Prairie tonight because so many drivers who run here know this track so well. Billy is not in his normal car. This is not the normal John Lawson race car, and Billy looks like he's going to have to settle for that streak being broken, although it continues in USAC company.
Well, I tell you what, though, he's right around the top. He still hasn't given up. He's running fast up there. If that bottom does go away, as it gets slicker and slicker as the race goes on, he still has a chance to get up there and win this race. But I don't think Kevin Doty, I don't think anybody's going to go around Kevin Doty on the bottom. He's really got the bottom figured out. Hatton is running as fast as he is. It's going to be tough for him to pass him on that bottom unless he gets down to the grass like he's been doing.
Kevin Doty, a 2-time champion of the Midwest Auto Racing Association, a couple states south of here. Guy who won Belleville in 1995. He won the Hut 100. Belleville in 1994, make that. He won the Hut 100 also. He's got 7 career USAC wins. This guy has really come on strong the past 2 or 3 seasons. He's always been very fast, particularly in these short wheelbase cars. But right now, wherever he shows up, he's the man to beat.
And uh-oh, look here. Boat is out of the race. Something's wrong. Flat left rear tire. The left rear is gone away. Flat. He's out of the race. His streak will end here tonight.
Billy Boat has won 15 of 21 main events that he has entered this year. That's right, he has won 15 of 21, and we see it come to a stop here at Sun Prairie.
You can see how that inside fencing coming off before forces everybody a little higher on the racetrack. These guys can run down in the grass at 1 and 2. Coming off before, they got to get up on the racetrack, and it's causing a little bit of a problem right down there coming off before.
Kevin Doty has won 15 times the past couple of seasons. As we go back and look at Dan Force, who was the big winner this year. Danny is in that white number 11 right there. He needed to get into this race and do well, do significantly, or not significantly, but just a little better than Kevin Cook to absolutely wrap up the championship. And once he got in this race, it was all but mathematically done. And he has had a great race. He hasn't charged as quickly. And we have Randy Fiskus coming to a stop. More on the Dan Force story in a few moments, but oh, this ruins a great race that Fiskus has been having.
Randy Fiskus has driven an absolutely terrific race. A very, very tough break for this young man. He deserved to have a great finish tonight because he run a great race.
Well, the big question now is, however, can the red and white number 50th, Kevin Doty, the man who was the champion a year ago, hold on? We'll be back to find that answer out. Randy Fiskus, who just saw a work of art of a race go awry, had not led a single lap in main event competition this year, but he picked the right night to do it. Billy Boat is also someone who has dropped out of this race, and Larry, we knew it would be difficult, but no way to anticipate this.
And look at that tire. It just disintegrated on him. No real reason, but I know they got to be awfully, awfully disappointed as Keith Kunz takes a look at it.
Our George Wilkins is down with Billy now.
Well, Billy, at Belleville, you were able to keep your tires underneath you, and tonight, obviously, the left rear just let go.
Yeah, you know, we're not used to running Hoosier tires. Normally we run McCrary's. You know, and we were a little bit loose, a little bit off on the setup. I was good up high, but you know, I just wasn't quite there like we normally are. We missed it just a little bit, you know, due to the tire pressure rule, different tires and stuff like that. But you know, we still had a good shot at it. I think the top was staying good, and I think the bottom would have, you know, slowly gone away. So I was keeping up, but you know, left rear went away, blew out, and then that ended the night.
So you think if you'd have stayed in it, the racetrack would have come to you?
We would have still been in it. You know, I don't know if I could have outran them or not. You know, they were plenty tough on the bottom, but I had a good rhythm upstairs, and I was just going to stick with it and see what happened, but we didn't make it to the end.
Billy mentioned that the tire pressure rule was giving him trouble. The rule up here is that you must run 12 pounds of tire pressure in the right rear. Most places don't require that much air, and it obviously gave him trouble here tonight.
Well, this is very spirited competition, and in years past, they've had a lot of problems with race cars getting upside down, Larry, and they have discovered that with this rule, it makes the cars more stable.
Well, this racetrack tends to get rough, so you're right. They make them put more pressure in the tires so they don't fold under, they don't get as many cars upside down. It's something they've done for safety, particularly at this racetrack.
Bright red, too, which you just saw moments ago. He's having another great race. Randy Cook, we've talked a number of times about how many cars he has passed this year. He's come all the way from the inside of row number 9. He's in third place right now. Does he have a chance? We've got some bobbling going on back as we go back to green.
One of the cars did not take off back there. The car running in 4th place. And look at Randy Cook. The car's running in 2nd, 3rd right now, starting 15th and 18th. And look at Kevin Doty. He's battling for his life with these two guys.
He has got to be wondering where did that red 2 come from, although if he's been here all this year, he knows how many cars Randy has passed and can't be all that surprised. Randy Cook, who led 109 laps this year, that bright red number 2 that was ranked 3rd in the entire league, and he passed well over 120 cars throughout the season.
And he found a group right in the middle of the racetrack, something that nobody had been able to run all night long. It lasted for about 2 laps, and now then it seems to have kind of gone away. And Scott Hatton now's the guy that's trying to get underneath. Man, he's really got a shot at him coming off.
Just 4 1/2 laps to go. You see how hard these guys are driving. It is really hell-bent for leather. And you get the feeling that if somebody makes one little mistake in these last 3 laps, he's going to lose.
Oh, man, right coming off of that last corner, they were so close going down that main straightaway as Cook again moves into 2nd spot. It looks like he's all of a sudden found a way to get off of turn 4. Man, he gets really shot off of there. He can almost get around Doty going down the main straightaway.
Scott Hatton, despite being way down at the bottom of the racetrack, looks like he's out of it. He's not not gaining ground down there now. Randy Cook is still trying to make that outside lane work, and Kevin Doty is running as smooth as any of these first 3 cars. Not looking as spectacular as the other 2, but holding on to that lead.
Randy Cook just bumped the cushion up there, pushed the front end out from under him, and it cost him about 3 or 4 car lengths. And he can't afford that this late in the race.
Scott Hatton now begins to mount a charge again as we see the white flag fluttering. Hatton goes down to the basement where he's been the last half of this race, but Cook's got the momentum on the outside.
And it looks like the battle's for second as Kevin Doty's got a good lead going into that last corner. These 2 guys battling for second and third.
Kevin Doty just skims the inside Armco coming out of corner number 4, and he victors the Pepsi Nationals for the 5th time in his illustrious career.
Boy, it was a tremendous job by those 3 guys up front. Kevin Doty drove one wheel of the race. The other guys came from clear back in 15th and 18th starting positions to run second and third. Terrific job by all 3 of these front runners.
Larry, dare I say it, we have not had a supreme midget driver, midget winner, I don't believe, since the domination of Rich Vogler. Do you feel as though we have one in the making in Kevin Doty?
Well, I think he's already here. I think Kevin Doty has proven himself. He's won every major race in the country. In the last couple of years, he's won Belleville, he's won this. Terrific job by this young man.
Way to go, buddy. A sweet dude.
Good birthday present, Kevin, man.
Dave.
Go back. Good job, Kevin.
Good job, buddy. I'll make that trip to the coin cool tonight.
They make reference to a trip to DeCoin that many of these drivers are going there tomorrow to run in a, and Kevin tells the camera, this is my 5th one. Many of the drivers are going to DeCoin tomorrow to run in the Silver Crown Championship race. I don't think we've seen that characteristic Kevin Doty war cry of victory that we normally see, Larry.
Well, he'll get around to it sooner or later. He always gets up there and gives one of those. Uh-oh, I think he's getting ready right now.
There it is. Kevin Doty.
Kevin, you swept her tonight. You had fast time, you won the dash, won your heat, and it took you 30 laps to get to the front. What was wrong?
Well, I tell you what, it wasn't easy. I mean, these guys that you race up here, you know, every week, like I said, and the guys that just come up here, I mean, they make it tough. I mean, this ain't easy. It might look easy, but I guarantee you it ain't. I mean, the car was there, and the car was just working good, and, you know, all I had to do is do my job, and I kind of thought we were in trouble there for a little bit. We took quite a bit of gear out, and I think we took just a little bit too much out because it was lugging coming off. But she was getting a hold of the racetrack, so that was, you know, the best thing for us, I think.
It seemed like early in the race you were really kind of biding your time and letting things get sorted out before you really went after it. And then next thing we knew, you're up to second, and then you're going for first.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, it's 50 laps. It's a, you know, pretty long race. I figured there'd be some yellows and stuff, and I think all in all it was a pretty clean race. You know, I was biding my time, but you know, at the same time, you got to get to the front as soon as you can, because, you know, let that guy that's out there leading and let him get away, then you ain't got a chance to get him. So, you know, we're just trying to keep it straight and not get collected in anything and go to the front.
You know, when you guys race here, it is so close racing. I mean, you guys are rubbing wheels and carrying on, but nobody got in trouble all night long. How come?
I think it's a caliber of drivers, and you know, this racetrack makes for that kind of racing. I mean, there's no place like this in the world to me. I mean, this is like home to me when I come up here and go racing. I mean, there's nothing like it. I mean, it's wheel-to-wheel racing. That's what it's all about.
Well, this ended up being the Kevin Doty Show, and congratulations.
Okay, thanks a lot. I want to thank you guys for filming us. I want to thank Gertie, Maxim, Hoosier Tires, Weld Wheels, Automotive Paint and Equipment, the Pro Shocks, my guys, Scott and Dave, and my dad. I mean, without them, I wouldn't be up here. Thanks.
Ow!
That's 5.
5 for Kevin Doty. And Larry, we have seen this guy now win on all the midget tracks. We've seen him move into USAC sprint competition, Silver Crown competition. He has a sprint car win. I think that we're going to see him around for quite a while here.
And of course, this is a family operation. That was his father standing in the background. A great family combination right there.
We'll be back with much more from the Pepsi Nationals next. Back at the Sun Prairie Pepsi Nationals, Kevin Doty, the winner here. Randy Cook, who I believe will win this race someday, was second. Scott Hatton, another real candidate to win here in the future, was third. And the team cars of Dwight Houston finished in 4th and 5th position. Let's go down and hear from the runner-up.
Randy Cook, great drive. Came in from 17th all the way up to 2nd.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. Every time I end up running the semi here and I start in the back like that, I end up running up here and running at 2nd. I just never get the win from running that far back. And I definitely worked my little tail off, but you come up a little short.
50 laps seems like a long time in this place.
Yeah, but it wasn't long enough tonight. I think I needed a few more. You know, I finally, at the end there, I was getting a good rhythm down, and then yellow come out, and it took me a while to get my tire heated up and get going again. But, I mean, I'm happy with 2nd, as far back as we can.
Well, can you attribute you coming from 17th to 2nd to the B main and running that?
Well, I got to contribute to my crew. They do it all. You know, I mean, they really get it working for me, and they, you know, Hans Lean used to drive the car, and he's probably my best, you know, person on my side that can get me going, because he knows the track and he knows the car, and we can communicate, and that's what really does it for me.
From 11th position on back, we'll show you the finishers. The veteran Dean Billings, then Roger Corrigan, another 2nd-generation driver, was 12th. The 13th position goes to the spectacular rookie Mike Fell. Randy Fiskus is credited with 14th position after the disappointment, and Billy Boat was 15th. Here's Scott Hatton.
Scott, you and Kevin Cook came from almost the last row to come up and run 2nd and 3rd. What would have happened if you guys started up front?
Well, I don't really know. I mean, you know, when you're running all those green laps, you're going by cars so fast, and you really, sometimes you lose where you're at. And we kind of got up there. We were hooked up, and I got up behind Kevin Doty, and we started working behind him when we were back in the pack. And I knew Kevin was going to probably, he was working low, I was working low. He was going to get by the guys in front, and I thought, well, I hope I can get by Kevin before he gets by the leaders, or we're gonna be hurting, you know. So once he didn't make any mistakes, and we got behind him. We were running 2nd, and he just didn't make one mistake, and we were settling for 2nd. And then after the yellow, Randy Cook got hooked up this one groove up, and you know, it was just a heck of a race. You know, you couldn't ask for a better race. So.
You guys did put on a great show. It seemed like you were definitely hooked up on the bottom, but I don't think you could have gone to the top and really given Doty any fits.
No, I don't really think so, because Kevin was hooked up really good on the bottom, and so were we. I felt like we were faster coming out of 3 and 4 than Kevin, but he just didn't make any mistakes, and I felt that if we would have went high, it was such a long way around that it was going to take Superman to get around him, you know, because the short way is around the bottom. So as good as he was hooked up, we didn't want to make any mistakes either after we worked so hard to get up front. So.
Well, great job tonight. It was a really good show.
Scott Hatton was 2nd best for the whole season in laps led. He also won 2 main events this year. Let's take a look at 16th through 20th finishing positions. Steve Knepper, who led the early laps, Doug Shank, Critter Malone, Dean Erfurth, and the veteran Marty Davis, a former winner of this event. Larry, what do you think? The racing here, the exception or the rule, how great it was?
It's absolutely the rule. Every week you come up to Sun Prairie, you see them running side by side, wheel to wheel, bumping and banging. That's what they did tonight.
We mentioned at the top of the show that this is the crescendo of an entire season of racing, where Danny Boris became the 1995 Badger Midget champion. You can see Randy Cook close behind, but not quite close enough. Kevin Olson was 3rd, Scott Hatton 4th, and Boyd Calvert, who we did not see much of in that main event, still had a great season. He came home in 10th position.
Passing points went to Randy Cook. Danny Boris was 2nd, and here with Danny Boris is George Wilkins.
Dan, first of all, congratulations on your championship.
Thank you very much. I can't say enough about our team, Wilkie Pack Penray Racing. They make my job real easy, and I'm glad we had 8 feature wins this year, and I'm just glad it's all over. It was pretty stressful coming into last night tonight. We just thought, okay, we just got to make the feature well. In warm-ups, we had a little motor problem. Then we got in the backup car, and I didn't get any practice laps because we broke the axle in that, and I was glad to make it through the B. It's pretty tough to make it through the B, but we had to do it. We just had to start the main, and then it was all uphill from there.
Well, let's talk about the B. There were moments there where it looked like you might not make it.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, you have to go wide open here from lap 1, no matter how many laps it is. You got to go wide open from start to finish, because it's anybody's ball game. I don't care what number or who it is. I mean, this is one fast place, and the guys that are accustomed to racing here all the time really go fast.
Well, in fact, at one point, you moved your way up to 2nd, but the yellow flag came out, and they put you back to 4th.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate thing. I mean, you always got to go relayed back to the previous lap and then charge forward again.
Well, what happened in the feature?
Well, in the feature, we had starting way in the back. I just had to weed myself through the cars and just watch everybody what's going on. And when we were in 4th place, it was looking pretty good. The car was working real well, and then I don't know, something was happening with the engine again, but we'll get them.
Well, congratulations again on your championship, and good luck next year.
Thank you very much. Thanks for covering this Sun Prairie show.
There is strong midget racing in several parts of the country, but the rest of it has to be very happy that drivers like Kevin Doty and Dan Borse choose to stay in the upper Midwest. Dan Borse led 187 main event laps this year, more than anybody else, and he won 8 times en route to the championship. Tonight's race has been brought to you by Signal Incorporated, more than just video, complete event coverage. By the Win Oil Company, when it wins, it works. By Prime Star, we bring satellite television down to earth. By the Fairfield Inns, economy lodging that exceed expectations. And by Lamers Racing, proud supporters of Badger Midget Auto Racing. To paraphrase a favorite poem of the late Sid Collins, voice of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on winning, the man who thinks he will lose will. The man who thinks he can win probably will. Kevin Doty might be on a career roll. For George Wilkins and Larry Rice, this is Larry Newberg. And until the next time, we'll see you, fans, at the races.